Hi, Nicole. All right, let's start working through the condition you are having some problems with. I'm going to open up your latest version. I assume that's the version I should be looking for. I click open. Right off the bat here, I'm running into an encounter that says I'm missing 12 files from your project. So I click OK, and let's see what happens here. All right, looks like the majority of them are in your main composition, your stacked frames. Quick look, they're all saying storyboard. So basically I'm guessing those are your animatics. And there we are. All of the layers from the PSD are missing. Actually, it's really the PSD that's missing from your project, and it can't load the layers from a missing PSD. Normally I would be able to go replace footage, file, and then we happen to be in the video import. Let's get into the, I'm assuming this would be in the graphics import. You've nicely labeled these in an organized way, but I don't see that storyboard frame or stacked PSD file. So I can't fix this problem, and I'll have to just move on to the direct problem that you're asking about the timing. So that happens to be in your frame 2 word animation composition, which happens to be right here. So this segment right here. If I go into that composition, I can see that you have offset these to some degree over here. And that probably, I'm guessing, matches this offset from 0 to what? 0 to 327. Now I'm going to hold Control and click on my time code here. And that's just going to change it over to frames. I find that a little easier. It's 117 frames in. So from here to here, these two layers are working as they should. Actually, this one's turned off. It's really just this one that we're seeing here in the text working. And that offset is being reflected right over here. But that's actually not really the way we want to work with nested comps and or precomposed compositions. Yours happens to be a nested comp. Precompositions wouldn't set this up this way. You'd have to manually have offset them. But the idea is that we want our, I'm going to grab all these layers, and I'm just going to drop them over to frame 0. Okay? Now I'm going to zoom in. It looks to me that even from here, they look nicely lined up. But if I zoom in, I've got this offset going on. Some of them start at a certain point, others start at another point, and I really can't get them to snap nicely together, so I can move one layer at a time. But I think in this case I'm just going to grab one layer and extend each layer out to begin at that first frame 0. Now, yes, this would be your first frame 0 overall, and I know that's not what you want, but bear with me a moment. You will see as I get this tweaked out. That one's lining up beautifully. So, now that I have that, I'm going to zoom out a bit, okay? And here I'm going to drag my work area. Notice I grabbed that blue bar right here in the work area. That's what I'm dragging, and that's saying this work area is all I'm concerned with. Don't worry about all these empty frames in the timeline here. Now again, I'm going to zoom in because I'm guessing I'm going to see an offset over here as well, and I need to make sure I'm capturing all of it. Okay? So now that I have this, it all encompasses everything here, I can actually right click on the bar itself and I can go trim the comp to the work area. And what that's going to do is it's going to trim all these empty frames out over here. And as I zoom out, again, timeline, the whole composition is only 146 frames total. Okay? We don't have those extra empty frames anymore. And now when I go into my stack frames, you can see how truncated this piece is in the timeline. And that's really what you were seeing before. And that's in part what the problem was. So I'm not so worried about this. What I'm going to do though, I know I fixed my comp. If I just re-drag that in, I get the whole comp. I am going to align it and with the previous comp, and I am just adjusting the new or the extra or new frame 2 word animation comp in. So as I play this then, I have my introduction with the text. That's flowing nicely. And then I get the full effect all the way through. It's being played all the way through accordingly. Now, again, I don't know exactly if this was intentional. It may have just been a case of not sloppy work. And I don't mean sloppy work negatively. It happens to all of us. If we don't zoom in on our work, we miss little things. So it's a natural thing. It's not necessarily a negative thing. But I do see when I zoom in, there's these offsets at the very end of my timeline. Now maybe the solution is to just drag that out so that they all end at the same time, or maybe you wanted them to pop in and out at different times. If that's the case, then I wouldn't have wanted to align these at the very beginning up front. If I zoom in here again, you can see in certain parts here, like here, the dashed line at the bottom of each of these, that's the part I extended it out. Now I could change that. I could extend it back in. That's what it was originally. And if that's what you were looking for, this was actually, I think, there, and then this one would have been there, and this one here. So if this was what you were shooting for, we just want to make sure that they're all the same length, okay? Unless we are offsetting them so that one starts after another. But either way, that's going to affect the whole piece here. So ideally, when you build compositions, always start them off at frame 0. With the only exception is if, in this case, I want this layer offset from the first layer, then I'm just going to drag it over like so, and I want this one, say, to start here. This one will start at the beginning. This one, I maybe want to start here. That's what I mean by these offsets. If that's what you wanted, fine, but it just seems like they should have been aligned from what I'm seeing. And then you can basically take the original one, the one that was problematic, and get rid of it. Just delete it out of the timeline there, because we have our new one in here, and as you can see, the whole effect plays out as needed accordingly. So I hope that helps, and watch my videos on the project directories again. We need to make sure that every bit of footage is always in our project directory, because it'll make porting and distributing your project to your professor, the grader, colleagues, and classmates much, much easier.